On our wedding night, just as I was about to lead my wife into our bridal chamber, bandits suddenly stormed into the courtyard. Shirley pushed me out, taking the blow herself. With tears in her eyes, she rushed into her cousin's embrace, abandoning me without a word, not even calling for help. By the time my family realized something was wrong and came looking, my limbs were broken, and my lower abdomen was a bloody mess. Mother and father, witnessing the horror, suffered cardiac arrest and collapsed. Scarlett sobbed, throwing herself upon my broken body. She knelt all the way to the palace, begging your majesty to send the royal physician to save my life. Unconscious, I vaguely heard my sister's conversation with my wife. I've had the bandits killed. No one will ever know that you arranged for them to enter the manor and brutalize my brother. If you wanted to marry Ethan, why not just break off the engagement? I would have persuaded my brother to do so. Why arrange for him to be tortured like this? This marriage was bestowed by father. How could I dare to break it? Shirley sighed. Long ago, I was poisoned with a West region aphrodisiac. I owe Ethan my life, for he offered himself to provide the antidote. I vowed to remain chaste for him. If your brother isn't crippled, how can I prevent him from touching me in the future? Scarlett seemed displeased, though not for my sake. I envy you being Ethan's first woman. With your brother crippled, his position can be given to Ethan. Scarlett sounded almost excited. Anyway, even as a cripple, he's still a duke. And you, his wife, your children with Ethan will still have to call him father. He won't lose out. I truly feel sorry for your brother. We'll register the child under his name, so he can have an heir. That should compensate him. I hope he'll be satisfied. They discussed, sealing my nightmarish future. It turned out that all my suffering was just paving the way for Ethan. With all my remaining strength, I tore apart the lover's knot that Shirley had woven for me. I wanted nothing of such false love and kinship. The royal physician arrived quickly, surrounding my body, their faces dripping with sweat. Thankfully, Countess Scarlett brought us here in time. Duke Xavier can still be saved. Their words only darkened my wife and sister's expressions. Can his, still be saved? Shirley asked. The royal physician, thinking she was worried about me, quickly replied, yes, with proper care, the Duke can still father children. Before he could finish, Shirley pushed him aside, snatched the hairpin I had given her, and lunged towards my groin. Princess, the royal physician screamed in horror. Shirley's hand, holding the hairpin, trembled. Finally overcome by fear, she closed her eyes, took a few steps back, and ordered the royal physician, do it. Cut it off. Threatened by the guards, the royal physician had no choice. With a few swift motions, it was severed and fell to the ground. Stray dogs outside the courtyard smelled the scent and rushed in, tearing at it. He'll never have the right to touch me again, Shirley said, as if relieved. I howled in agony, but the anesthetic prevented me from moving. You're insane. Why are you treating the Duke like this? Even though he was abused by the bandits, it wasn't his fault. Why do you despise him so much that you have to destroy him? Not only will the Duke be unable to have children, but even urinating will be painful. He'll probably only live for a few more years. But the royal physician's words didn't make Shirley hesitate. How could I ever despise Xavier? Her face was full of tenderness. She whispered, I promised Ethan that I would remain chaste, that no other man would touch me. Only by disabling Xavier can I guarantee that my body belongs solely to Ethan. She wiped the sweat from my forehead. Xavier, you'll understand, won't you? Don't worry, I'll find the best doctors to treat you. I'll make sure you live a long life. The royal physician, not hearing her whispers, didn't understand why she was acting this way and looked to my sister, hoping she would speak on my behalf. Scarlett, however, threatened the royal physician, today's events, you are forbidden to breathe a word of it, or else. A glint of cold steel flashed, and the royal physician dared not say another word. Shirley cried, her eyes red, quick, give him more anesthetic. Can't you see how much pain he's in? She embraced me, overwhelmed with sorrow. Honey, I won't let anyone hurt you again. Brother, Scarlett finally wept. Your wife and I will stay by your side until you recover. The people who hurt me the most were you two, the ones closest to me. You both seemed to be heartbroken for me. But a maid came to report that Ethan had changed into his wedding dress, wanting to hold a 3-person wedding and wedding night with Shirley and Scarlett. The two of them gasped. How ridiculous. One moment, they were saying they would stay by my side, fearing anything would happen to me, and the next, they were flushed with desire for another man. I'm not going, Shirley said, her voice tinged with sadness. I spent a year hand embroidering that wedding dress. A few days ago, when I was with him in West Garden, he already wore this dress with me, so it's kind of like we already had our wedding night. Scarlett also spoke. I'm not going either. After a while, I'll have my brother propose to Ethan for me, and then I'll spend our own 2-person wedding night with him. Tell Ethan to rest assured. I'm leaving all the dowry Xavier gave me to him. He can sell it off soon to buy a house, Shirley said with a faint smile. I've prepared the trousseau too, Scarlett added. I've packed up all the treasures my brother earned with his military exploits over the years. I'm taking them all to the Ethan family. No. That he's in such a critical condition, we should stay with him, they sighed. It was the first time they seemed to favor me, but I only felt extreme sorrow. My sister said she wanted to be the most honored woman in New Oxford, so I risked my life on the battlefield to earn military merits, winning her the title of Countess. But she was plotting against her brother, who had given her everything, for a man. My wife, my childhood sweetheart, to whom I was betrothed long ago. To make her the envy of everyone, I searched for South Sea jewels and West Region furs, 188 cards full of treasures to woo her. She wouldn't even embroider her wedding dress, complaining that it was too much trouble. But she spent a year embroidering a wedding dress for another man. The lover's knot she gave me was probably just leftover material from her wedding dress, wasn't it? They gave all their love to Ethan, consuming and discarding me. All they could spare was a half-hearted presence. My sincere devotion had been a joke. Blood spurted from my mouth, and I fell unconscious in their heart-wrenching cries. When I awoke, Shirley and Scarlett were kneeling by my bedside, their faces gaunt. Seeing me open my eyes, their eyes lit up with joy. You're finally awake. It's all my fault. I was so frightened at the time that I forgot to call for help, Shirley cried, throwing herself into my arms. It's all my fault for being playful that night, taking away your guards, delaying their rescue. Scarlett was also tearful. I wish I could have been the one brutalized. I closed my eyes and pushed away the women in my arms. I gave a bitter smile. It's just bad luck. It was just bad luck that I had loved and trusted the wrong people. Their expressions darkened, but there was no guilt. The royal physician said, that part of you was cut off by those bandits. You're probably no different from an eunuch now. But don't worry, I won't despise you for being crippled, Xavier, Shirley said, looking at me with loving eyes. Rest well. If you really want a child, when the time comes, we'll adopt one for you to raise on your knee, okay? Shirley looked at me cautiously, as if afraid I would be upset. I laughed silently. Adopt a child? Was it going to be her child with Ethan? I would raise someone else's child, wearing the biggest green hat imaginable, and I was supposed to be grateful for it, or I would be ungrateful. I slowly shook my head. There's no need. I don't have the fortune for that. I looked at Shirley for a long time, thinking about her and her sister's words. I whispered, I only want one thing. Where is the thing the royal physician cut off? My sister and Shirley looked puzzled. It's already trampled by those bandits. How can it be found? Even if you found it, brother, it couldn't be reattached. Don't think about these sad things anymore, Scarlett advised. I said nothing more. Only by finding it could I tell them just how much I had sacrificed for Shirley. They coaxed me into drinking the medicine, thinking I would lose consciousness after taking the anesthetic, but I was already in so much pain that even the medicine couldn't dull it. I've already notified the Duchess and father that Xavier was colluding with those bandits, which is why they cut him there. Shirley said softly. People from the palace will come to punish him soon. The castration is cruel. I can't bear to see him suffer, so I'll leave first. I've also told mother and father. They already know that brother is indulging in such depraved acts, and has lost his manhood as a result. Soon they will petition to have brother dismissed from his position and demoted to a commoner, Scarlett said hesitantly. I can't bear to watch either. Lying in bed, hearing their words, my heart felt as if it were being torn in two. After they left, people from the palace arrived. My scandal had shocked all of New Oxford. The Duchess pinched her nose and covered her chest as she walked to my bedside. I never imagined you were such a filthy thing. A disgrace. Great General Xavier helped your Majesty wipe out the bandits and captured many of them. I didn't expect General Xavier to be playing so intimately with those lowly creatures, even bringing it into the princess's bridal chamber. Ethan said sarcastically. Enough, Duchess, don't be angry. The once mighty great general is now crippled, just an eunuch. He's a pitiful man, Duchess added fuel to the fire. The Duchess was enraged by her words. Pitiful? It would have been better if he had been killed by those filthy creatures. Why disgrace the royal family and Shirley? From this day forward, Xavier is stripped of his position as general and sentenced to death by castration. She waved her hand. Drag him out. I want to execute him in front of the people, to uphold the honor of my royal family. I weakly resisted them, roaring, but was dragged out by my former comrades, my broken legs pulling me along. Let me go! I struggled, shouting. But no one cared. The people who once admired me, yearned for me, and whose safety I had protected, now looked at me with ridicule, contempt, and disgust as they stripped me of my clothes. Serves you right for becoming a eunuch dog. You even played with those commoners in the princess's bridal chamber. Kill that vile man. My mother, her face pale, wearing the court dress and holding the third-rank title plaque that I had earned for her, slowly walked forward. Mother, save me! I'm innocent! Broken words squeezed from my throat. I desperately reached out, begging my mother, who had once loved me dearly, to believe me and save me. But a glob of spit landed on my cheek, shattering my last hope. The Sief family has raised such a licentious and depraved son, truly bringing shame to the princess and the royal family. Mother burst into tears, trembling. As she knelt. From this day forward, we sever all ties with this vile son, leaving him to the princess and your majesty to deal with. Mother, I didn't do those things. I was framed. I looked at my mother in despair. Won't you even believe me once? Tears fell to the dust, and my head was covered in blood, but my mother looked at me with hatred, leaving only one sentence. You disgust us, Xavier. If you have any conscience, you should die. Tears blurred my vision, blurring the figure of my departing mother. Shirley rushed over from the street, embracing me. Who allowed you to touch Xavier? She was full of anger, as if she truly felt heartache for me. Duchess! How can you not let Xavier go? I've said it, I'll only love Xavier in this life. No matter what he becomes, no matter what he does wrong, I'll love him. You're insane. The Duchess was so angry that she snatched a whip from the side and charged over. He's just a cripple. What are you so attached to? If you don't grant me and Xavier, I'll accept the punishment with him. The Duchess, clutching her chest in anger, swung the whip again and again. Shirley shielded me, enduring the lashes without a word. The people were moved by her devotion, cursing me as unworthy of being a man. My heart was ashes. I pushed her away, falling into the shadow of the whip. Xavier is unworthy of marrying the princess, I said, my flesh tearing. I beg your majesty to withdraw the marriage decree. I slowly looked at Shirley, and in her flickering eyes, I said, isn't the princess in love with Captain Ethan? Divorce me, and you can marry Ethan. I gave a bitter smile. I wish you all your dreams come true. Shirley embraced me, trembling, not knowing whether she was sad for me or excited about the cancellation of the marriage. Xavier, don't worry. Even if I marry Ethan, it's only to protect the royal family's honor. I'll always love you. We'll be together forever. I remained Moshio. Unless forever was too far away, Shirley. I didn't want to love you for even a moment longer. When I woke up again, I found myself not in my former bedroom, but in a dim side room. The air was full of dust and dampness. I coughed for a long time, and the wounds began to seep blood. I shouted for a long time before a maid came in, saying rudely, "What are you shouting about? Where is this? Why was I sent here? My throat was parched. My wounds are bleeding. Please, bring me some medicine." She rolled her eyes. "You're just a commoner now. If you die, you'll just be wrapped in a straw mat and thrown out. What medicine do you deserve? The princess is willing to take you in, cleaning up the woodshed for you to live in. That's already extremely generous. How could you be worthy of living in the main house? That's where our new prince consort lives, of course." She sneered. "Today is the princess and prince consort's wedding night. They've called for water 5 or 6 times already. The princess has also ordered that no one is allowed to disturb them for the next 3 days. Don't think about pretending to be sick to seduce the princess." My heart felt like it was being gnawed by 1,000 ants. Seeing that I didn't speak, the little maid snorted and left. "Still thinks he's the great general? He's just a shameful commoner who was kicked out of his family. If I were him, I would have died long ago." The room was as cold as an ice cellar, but it wasn't as heart-wrenching as their mocking voices. I coughed incessantly, and blood dripped from my throat. The door opened, and my servant Andy was pushed in. His face was covered in injuries. Seeing me, he was filled with guilt. "Great General, it's my fault. I couldn't even find a little medicine or charcoal. They said it was the princess's happy day and they couldn't hear about sickness and injury, so they locked us in a remote place, not letting anyone come over. Great General, how can I ave you?" Coughing, I pointed to the things piled up and covered in dust in the room. "Go and burn those." It was the coldest time of the year. If this continued, even if I didn't die of illness, I would freeze to death. Andy brought the things over one by one, his face full of shock and sadness. "Great General." These. One by one, they were incredibly familiar. They were all the things I had once given to Shirley, the small portraits I had painted myself, my daily letters, and countless precious jewels and clothes. They were all here, covered in dust, faded in color, just like our former love. I was in a daze for a moment. No wonder I had rarely seen her wear anything I had given her all these years. She always said to me, "The things you give me are so precious, Xavier. I can't bear to use them. I've treasured them all." So they had all become junk in the woodshed. I laughed sadly. "How am I any different from these things?" I said softly, "Burn them all." One by one, they were thrown into the fire. The last one was the marriage contract between Shirley and me, already crumpled into a ball. It still had the poem she had written on it. "Wishing to grow old with Xavier." I was silent for a moment and threw it into the flames. What a joke, growing old together. It was all a lie. The firelight illuminated my pale face, just like the pain in my heart. Andy could no longer bear it and cried, "Great General, I feel so sorry for you. Back then, the princess was poisoned with a West region poison. It was clearly you who offered yourself to transfer the poison to your own body. They all said Ethan did it, which is why the princess became estranged from you. You still have traces of the poison on your body from saving the princess, and the princess didn't even notice anything wrong," Andy said excitedly. "Even the countess is the same. The countess has been tricked. The countess has always believed that she became a countess because Ethan used military merits to exchange for it. It's ridiculous. What ability does Ethan have to exchange for such incredible wealth and honor? Hold on, as long as I find a chance to rush out and find the princess and countess, tell them the truth, it will definitely." He probably saw the bitter smile on my face and stopped talking. "Forget it," I said softly. "Did they really betray and humiliate me just because of that one act of gratitude? I've blocked countless assassinations for the princess over the years. Why would she harm me like this just to repay that one act of sacrifice?" Andy's face was pale, unable to speak. "What about the countless rewards I earned for Scarlett? I'm her own brother. Since she was a child, I've cherished her in my heart. Is all of that not worth Ethan's fickleness?" I cried and laughed. "What about my years of affection with them?" Andy murmured, Why can't they see through such a simple lie? Because they just want a reason to indulge themselves without guilt, I said sadly. They'll think, look, he's just a useless man now. I haven't given up on him. I'm already very good. Even if I betray him, it's only human nature. They bet that I'm already useless, that I have no one to rely on but them, like a dog wagging its tail for pity. Even if I'm hurt again, I'll just swallow the pain. But humans aren't animals. How can they endure when the pain reaches its limit? I choked out. The fire filled the sky, just like the pain in my heart. I heard myself say, Andy, help me. I don't want to waste the rest of my life on these two unworthy people. When I woke up again, Shirley was sitting by my bed. Seeing me wake up, she immediately threw herself into my arms. You really scared me to death. You know, when I saw the firelight in the side room, I thought you were trying to kill yourself. I hurried over to see you. Shirley complained, why did you set the fire? Are you dissatisfied with them? I've been so good to you, what else are you dissatisfied with? I coldly pushed her away, looking at the patches of ambiguous red marks on her neck. I ruined your good time with Ethan, so you should be dissatisfied with me, right? Shirley's expression changed, and she immediately pulled up her collar. She coaxed me softly, I had no choice. Father and mother bestowed the marriage. To protect the royal family's honor, Ethan and I had to be as intimate as possible on our wedding night. Stop it. I promise you, just this once, there won't be another time. She handed over a bowl of soup, wanting to feed me. Back then, I was poisoned. Ethan offered himself to save me, letting me live until now. I've already had a brief affair with him. What's the big deal with a few more times? Just consider it me repaying a debt. My heart was filled with anger, but my tone was even colder. You're repaying your debt, so why do you have to hurt me like this? You. What are you talking about? Shirley became angry and ashamed. You became like this because you were indulging yourself in depravity. What does it have to do with Ethan, with us? She threw the soup at me, and the scalding liquid poured over my wounds. You're really out of your mind. As a princess, I'm being laughed at because of you, my shameful husband. I even argued with mother to keep you. You're blaming me? Her chest was heaving, and the way she looked at me was as if she hated me. Xavier, you're not a man. You were my fiancé. Why didn't you offer yourself to save me when I was poisoned? Ethan was willing to give up his life for me. Why didn't you care about me and him at that time? You're a coward. I smiled self-deprecatingly. Shirley, your twisted words disgust me. You ask me where I was at the time? Then why don't you ever think about why I never appeared during the 3 months you were poisoned, where I was? If you just investigated it, you would know the truth. Shirley looked at me with disgust. You wouldn't want to say that you saved me, and were too poisoned to take care of me, right? Do you think I'm easy to fool? I turned my face away, not letting her see that I was already in tears. You've never been willing to believe me, so what's the point of me saying anything? Shirley was furious and slapped me several times. You're really worthless. Why don't you just die? After Shirley left, Ethan walked in bare-chested, covered in ambiguous marks. Xavier, you're so pitiful. You used to be so mighty and domineering, but now you'll have to beg me for a bite to eat like a dog. No, you're not even as good as a dog, because a dog is still free, while your life and death are all in my hands. I'm going to make you kneel by my and Shirley's bed day and night, watching the woman you love the most lose herself in pleasure with me. I closed my eyes and ignored him. At this point, my heart had already died, and I wouldn't feel heartache anymore because of his words. But I think it's best if you just die, so you won't take Shirley and the general's position away from me later. He clapped his hands, and the door was suddenly pushed open. In the middle of the night, outside were bandits covered in dirt and grime, their eyes glowing green. You've always wanted revenge, right? Serve our great general well, and make sure he has a comfortable journey. He grinned. Looking at those faces that I wanted to kill, I got up in shock and anger to grab my sword. Get out! I dodged clumsily. Suddenly, there were footsteps outside the door. Who's making a noise in there? It was the voices of my sister and Shirley. I gritted my teeth and raised my sword, wanting to cut a path out of the bandits. Ethan's expression changed, and he rushed out. Scarlet, Shirley, run. I was worried about the great general's well-being, but I didn't expect to run into the great general colluding with those bandits again, wanting to RMU, princess. I wanted to stop him, but he drew his sword to kill me. You're lying, I said, my eyes red, as I killed my way out. Scarlet, Shirley, believe me. He's the one who called them. Go and call the guards. Call the guards? Guards, come. Scarlet scolded angrily, calling for the guards and pointing at me. I'll let you attack Ethan. Cut off the great general's hands. Let's see how he can draw his sword to harm people. Scum! Shirley looked at me as if I were an enemy. I was worried that you were feeling depressed, so I called your sister to keep you company. I didn't expect you to be unrepentant and hire thugs. Why don't you just die? She pointed at me and said to the bandits, you've been wanting to plot against me, right? Good, I'm going to let you kill each other. When you kill this vile man, I'll let you go, otherwise, you can all die. She dropped those words and threw herself into Ethan's arms, crying as he led her away. Scarlet watched coldly as the guards cut off my hands, laughing as I screamed. Shirley couldn't sleep, got out of bed, and walked outside. Scarlet was also standing in the moonlight, looking towards the side courtyard. Do you think the guards were too rough? She frowned. Should I ask the royal physician to heal his hands when dawn breaks? Those bandits. They're all his accomplices, they wouldn't hurt him, Shirley retorted. I'll have the gates opened at dawn and have them all killed. As they spoke, a plume of smoke billowed from the side courtyard, followed by the sound of a violent collapse and roaring flames. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. The great general, he immolated himself. Impossible. Scarlet and Shirley jumped up, their faces even paler in the firelight. This must be another scheme of Xavier's. Shirley frowned. No one is allowed to put out the fire. Let him burn. I want him to learn a lesson. Yes, Xavier is going too far, Scarlet paced back in RTH, her eyes fixed on the flames. Last time he set fire to the house to scare us. Is he trying the same trick again? But the flames were fiercer than before, and they were frightened. They hurried outside. Someone, help! Help! Put out the fire! Shirley rushed towards the blaze, but the servants stopped her. Ethan followed, feigning concern. The great general is just trying to scare you again. Since he lost his manhood, he hasn't been a man at all. He has no tolerance and only knows how to cause trouble and be jealous. Seeing that Scarlet and Shirley ignored him and still wanted to rush into the fire, he added, a schemer like him wouldn't be inside. He's probably hiding somewhere, watching us panic. Your Highness, Scarlet, the sparks are flying everywhere. It's burning me. Let's go, or you might get burned too. Shirley was anxious and said dismissively, I'm not afraid of being burned. You go back first. We need to save Xavier, we can't worry about you. Ethan clicked his tongue and tempted Scarlet. Scarlet, a moment of passion is worth 1,000 gold. Why don't you come back with me? Scarlet stared at the flames, her eyes filled with confusion and fear. For the first time, she ignored Ethan's advances and plunged towards the fire. Xavier! I'm here to save you. But the guards forcibly restrained her. The fire was extinguished, and the guards carried out a charred body. The sight made Scarlet and Shirley nearly faint with grief. Xavier! Shirley cried, heartbroken, and tried to rush forward. We caught a bandit trying to escape, a guard said, pushing forward a man with half his face burned off. Weren't you Xavier's accomplices? Why didn't you save him? Scarlet sobbed. Kill him for me. The bandit wailed and begged for mercy. Countess, spare me. We were ordered to do it by the Duchess. She told us to wound and humiliate the great general. Shirley was shocked and grabbed him, scrutinizing his face. It's you, it really is you. How could it be you? How could Xavier be in league with you? Besides, weren't you already dead? Shirley's face paled. Something's wrong. How could Xavier be in league with bandits? We made up those lies to deceive people. When did we start believing our own lies? Scarlett stared blankly at him, finally remembering that the things she and Shirley used to suspect and attack Xavier were all fabrications. They weren't real. He hadn't conspired with bandits, so he wouldn't have invited them into the house to harm the princess. Who saved you? Who sent you here? Shirley demanded, her eyes red. You told us to. The bandit pleaded, to save us, and said again. Ah! Ethan suddenly cried out in pain and collapsed. Princess, the poison I cured you of has spread to me. I suddenly feel so much pain. Is the poison acting up? He pointed at the bandit. Anyway, the great general was killed by him. Killing him would be revenge for the great general. Hearing him say he was poisoned, Shirley forgot about avenging Xavier and immediately helped him up. Call the royal physician. Scarlett wiped away her tears and looked at the burned-down house, muttering, Xavier, don't worry, we'll find out who harmed you. Countess, Andy walked up to her coldly, holding an object. Who killed the great general? Didn't you drive him to his death? Are you happy now? You turned him from a great general into a despised commoner. You ruined his body and health. You locked him in the woodshed, didn't allow him medicine or a doctor, and didn't give him food, drink, or charcoal. Do you know that the great general burned everything you gave him to avoid freezing to death? Scarlett's face turned white. How would you know? She stopped abruptly, looking at Andy in horror. Andy sneered, took out a cloth package, and handed it to her. These are the great general's relics and farewell letter for you. Countess, the document conferring your title was lost, but I've found Please open your eyes and read it carefully. Your Majesty wrote clearly that great General Xavier traded his military achievements for your title of Countess. As for who cured the princess, I think the princess only needs to find the healer who saved him and open this package to know the truth. Scarlett staggered, her lips bitten white. She trembled as she took the document. The great general asked me to ask you one question. Are his 20 years of care and devotion really less important than this title of Countess? Scarlett collapsed to her knees, sobbing and hugging the document. Xavier, I'm sorry. How could it be less important? She had taken advantage of his unwavering love, acting recklessly. She knew that no matter what she did wrong, he would protect her. So, to please Ethan, she was blinded by greed and tormented her Xavier again and again. She always thought that for her happiness, what did it matter if Xavier sacrificed a little more? After all, he was her Xavier. But she forgot that even with family, there was no such thing as taking and giving for granted. Only when she lost him did she realize that she was terribly wrong. But regret could not bring back the chance to start over. Shirley knew how terrible the poison was. Hearing no sound from the room, she was extremely anxious. Princess! She looked up and saw the healer who had cured her of the poison from the West region. Healer, you're finally here, she greeted him. My prince consort is poisoned and is receiving treatment in the room. But it's been so long and there's no sound. I'm so worried, please go in and see. The healer looked confused. Poisoned? The prince consort was poisoned last month. I removed the toxins. How could he be poisoned again? Shirley looked blankly. He slowly opened his mouth. Although the toxins have been removed from the prince consort, his body has been destroyed. His life is probably short. What? Shirley stared at the healer. When did you meet Ethan? Ethan didn't want me to marry Xavier and asked me to spend some time with him in West Garden. I haven't been in New Oxford for half a year. The healer looked confused. How many prince consorts do you have? The one I met was Xavier. He was the one who cured you. Who is Ethan? Shirley's face turned pale instantly. How is that possible? When I woke up, the person lying next to me was Ethan. The healer sighed. I told you that the poison had to be transferred to someone else, and that person had to come to me immediately for a herbal bath for 3 months to survive. How could he wait for you to wake up? No wonder Xavier disappeared for 3 months. You never sent anyone to ask. I thought you were confident in my medical skills, but Shirley trembled. She suddenly remembered Xavier's questions. Why hadn't she looked for him for those 3 months? Why? Because she didn't see him when she woke up and heard Ethan's lies? Was she confused by grief and hatred? Or was it because Ethan had enchanted her? Ultimately, she had long wanted an excuse to indulge her temporary wandering and pleasure. With a thud, Shirley raised her head and saw Scarlett kneeling on the ground, her face as pale as death. "We killed Xavier." She trembled as she opened the cloth package. Xavier said to look at this package to know the truth. A piece of rotten meat, corroded by wild dog stomach acid, fell out of the bag. It was covered with purple-black spots, just like the marks that appeared on Shirley's body after she was poisoned. "Xavier!" Shirley cried, heartbroken, tears streaming down her face. The healer looked at the remains, shook his head, and turned to leave. All the truths were revealed, and Scarlett and Shirley investigated all the events of the past years. One by one, Ethan's crimes against Xavier were brought to light. Shirley heard that the things Xavier burned to save his life were actually the gifts and marriage certificate she had given him, and her heart ached. She asked the servants with red eyes, "Why? I told you to put those things in my study. Why did you throw them in the woodshed?" But she cried again. How heartbroken must he have been when he burned those things to survive? Ethan had ordered all those things to be thrown into the woodshed. But in the end, it was her love for Ethan that gave him the confidence to instruct the servants to do such things. It was even revealed that Ethan had more than a dozen mistresses outside and was squandering Shirley and Scarlett's dowry in brothels. "I killed the person who loved me the most for such a disgusting man." Father, mother, and the clan elders fainted upon hearing this news and had Scarlett taken back to the ancestral hall. "That was your Xavier. How could you do such an absurd thing?" Mother, thinking of the way he had knelt at her feet, begging her to believe him, was heartbroken and died on the spot. Father felt guilty that he had not believed him and saved him. He hanged himself in the ancestral hall that night. Scarlett was punished with clan punishment and water immersion as a warning. I stood on the shore, watching Scarlett crying without struggling, my heart aching. But in the end, I chose to turn away and leave. Ethan frequented brothels and realized that he hadn't seen Shirley and Scarlett for a long time. He returned to the princess's residence and saw Shirley, who had become gaunt. He was startled but quickly realized what was happening, hiding the triumph in his eyes, and said, "It's okay, Shirley. Xavier is dead, but I'm here with you." Shirley looked at him and smiled strangely after a long time. "Ethan, Xavier might be able to come back, if you're willing." Ethan didn't understand what she meant and said perfunctorily, "Of course I'm willing, but it's a pity he can't come back." Years later, it was said that there was a beggar in the beggar's den, with broken hands and feet, who was forced to beg day and night. They said that beggar looked just like the princess's second prince consort. The next day, the beggar's face was ruined. Finally, one day, whether he had lost hope of living or the princess was tired of people associating him with her, the beggar died in the temple. But all of this had nothing to do with me. I followed the healer to Healer's Valley to learn to heal people. That year, while Shirley was questioning me about the arson, I had Andy find the healer and bring me all the evidence. The healer admired my selflessly sacrificing myself to save my lover and sympathized with my misery of loving the wrong person. He made a dummy to replace me and took me away to heal me. Although I could never have children in this life, I didn't regret it because I had rescued dozens of orphans over the years. I raised and educated these children as my descendants. At noon, Andy sent the monkey children away, wiped the sweat from his brow, and walked in. He pouted and said, "That bitch is kneeling outside again." For 10 years, she has been kneeling outside the valley, begging the healer to find a way to summon your soul back and save you with a life exchange technique. I chuckled. It's just a myth in ancient medical books. Shirley actually believes that you can revive the dead by exchanging lives. They wouldn't want to use Ethan's life to bring you back, would they? I sneered. That's what she said before, but Ethan died in the temple 2 days ago. She now says she's willing to use her own life to bring you back. I stood up, looking at the almost ant-like figure at the bottom of the valley, and said softly, "What is her life worth? She won't live for more than a few years anyway." Andy said with great relief. The princess doesn't know that she needs to combine with you regularly to ensure that the toxins in her body don't act up. Now that you're gone, the toxins in her body can't be suppressed, and she'll be incurable in a few years. Don't talk about these old things. L. Okaying at the good sun outside the window, I breathed a sigh of relief. I should go teach those newly adopted children. From then on, it would be my new life.